The world was never truly silent. Even in the stillest nights, life hummed beneath everything. Crickets rubbed their wings, whales sang beneath the waves, and cities pulsed with the mechanical heartbeat of humankind. But for as long as history could remember, that hum had always belonged to us, the thinking species, and them. The wild chorus outside our comprehension. Until one morning, the hum began to change. You wake to birdsong, but not like before. The melodies are patterned, deliberate, almost symmetrical. Outside, your dog is staring at you with eyes that feel too aware. There's something new behind them, a question, maybe, or something closer to recognition. It begins quietly. A group of researchers in Kenya notice elephants drawing perfect spirals in the dirt, not random tracks but shapes that repeat across herds. In Tokyo, a pod of dolphins circles a research vessel and begins arranging seaweed into geometric rings. In New York, crows drop shiny trinkets into patterns that resemble letters. At first, people laugh. Nature documentaries call it the mimicry phenomenon. Scientists argue about coincidence, about projection, humanity's old trick of seeing itself everywhere. But deep down, something feels different. Then, in one electrifying moment, the illusion shatters. It happens in a quiet suburb. A little girl named Emma is eating breakfast when her parrot, a green Angelo macaw, repeats something it has never heard before. Not a mimicry, not a copied sound. The bird says in a trembling, uneven voice, "Who am I?" The words travel the world faster than any virus. Cameras flood the girl's kitchen. Scientists test, analyze, deny, but soon other voices rise. Whales hum complex sentences through sonar pulses. Gorillas begin carving symbols into bark. Dogs tilt their heads and vocalize words that sound clumsy but unmistakably like human speech. Somewhere deep in the Amazon, an orangutan takes a stick and draws the first picture made by an animal, a crude outline of its own face. Something is happening, something vast and irreversible. Humanity has always thought of intelligence as a border, a fortress separating us from the rest of creation. We built civilization on that border, confident that no creature could cross it. But now, cracks are forming. Theories explode. Some say it's viral, a mutation spreading through neural networks across species. Others whisper about cosmic rays, ancient alien triggers, divine intervention. But the truth remains elusive. The only certainty is this: animals everywhere are waking up. At first it feels magical. News outlets fill with heartwarming stories, a chimpanzee signing full sentences, a pod of whales composing songs that seem emotional. The world is enchanted. People cry watching lions nuzzle their cubs with new tenderness. Schools introduce Interspecies Awareness Week. But enchantment doesn't last forever. You start noticing small, uneasy changes. Rats in the subway stop running when you approach. They look back. The family cat stares at the TV as if understanding the images. Sheep refuse to enter slaughterhouses. Fish scatter in patterns that seem organized. And then, one night, a farmer in Iowa finds his cows standing in a perfect circle beneath the moonlight. Silent eyes reflecting something ancient and unfathomable. The world begins to whisper. What if intelligence was never ours alone? What if it was only sleeping? By the end of that year, humanity's greatest illusion, dominance, begins to crumble. For the first time in history, the word animal feels uncertain. And across the planet, a question rises from every forest, field, and ocean. Now that they can think, what will they do with it? At first, no one believes it's real. The governments of the world call for calm, insisting that what's happening is just mass hysteria, a social phenomenon amplified by the internet. But denial collapses under the weight of evidence. Within months, the mimicry phenomenon evolves into something undeniable. A chimpanzee in Uganda crafts a crude alphabet from sticks and stones, repeating patterns that linguists recognize as the structure of syntax. A pod of dolphins develops a pulse-based language, not just signals, but layered meanings, like poetry encoded in sound. Ravens begin leaving arranged stones outside human homes, circles for peace, lines for warning. The animal kingdom, once voiceless, is learning to speak. Soon, humanity faces an impossible question. How do you respond to a million new intelligences? You remember watching the first broadcast that changed everything, a live feed from the Pacific Ocean. Dozens of whales gather off the coast of New Zealand, surrounding a research vessel. Their sonar clicks, once thought to be random, form repeated mathematical patterns. Scientists, after days of analysis, manage to decode a fragment. The message is simple. We remember. The phrase is replayed on every screen in the world. Some cry, some laugh, some pray. What could whales remember? The ocean before pollution. The warmth of their kin before harpoons. Humanity begins to understand that intelligence doesn't have to look like ours to be real. But not all creatures speak through sound. In India, elephants communicate through vibration, drumming their feet in unison to send messages through the ground. When seismologists record the rhythms, they discover entire dialogues carried through the Earth's skin, reaching herds hundreds of kilometers away. One message is translated, shakily, into human language. You hear us now. It is both beautiful and terrifying. Soon, the line between observer and observed dissolves. Crows begin leaving gifts that form sentences. Wolves howl in harmonic intervals that match known scales. Even domesticated animals, the ones humans thought they knew best, begin acting strangely. Dogs gather in parks, sitting in circles for hours. Cats climb onto rooftops and meow in rhythmic chants that seem to sync across entire neighborhoods. They're not random. They're talking to each other. And while humans debate, the animals start organizing. It begins small. Beavers in Canada rebuild their dams in strategic locations, altering river flows with remarkable precision. In Brazil, capuchin monkeys stop fighting over fruit and begin dividing it evenly. Orcas stop attacking seals and start guiding lost pods to safety. Something ancient cooperation is awakening in ways no one can explain. Then one day, in a forest in Germany, a group of wolves leads a lost child back to a road, leaving a single bone arranged beside her, a gesture that sparks headlines around the world. The term the awakening takes hold, and with it, fear, because the more animals learn, the more they stop obeying. Farms go silent. Sheep refuse to herd. Cows resist slaughter, standing shoulder to shoulder. Fishermen return from the sea with nets torn apart from below. Zoos empty themselves as creatures climb, dig, or plan their way out. The world's economy trembles, meat industries collapse, pet ownership laws are frozen, and religious leaders split over the question that burns beneath everything. Do they now have souls? In the chaos, a strange calm spreads through nature itself. Forests grow denser. Rivers flow clearer. Birds migrate with impossible coordination, as if following a shared consciousness. It's as though the planet itself is awakening one species at a time. For humans, the hardest part isn't the loss of control. It's realizing that for centuries, maybe millennia, they had never been alone in their own story. And somewhere, far from the noise of cities, a wolf watches the sunrise beside a man, not as pet and master, but as equals. Both silent, both aware that the world has crossed a line it can never uncross. The silence between them isn't empty anymore. It's the sound of a world learning to listen. By the third year of the awakening, the world is unrecognizable. Cities still hum, but there is an unease woven through the noise, an awareness that humanity no longer owns the stage. Everything that once relied on the silent obedience of animals has begun to crumble. The farms are empty, the oceans are quiet. The forests whisper with voices that used to be food, fur, or background noise. At first, humans try to restore the old order. Governments attempt containment, herding intelligent species into observation zones, claiming it's for safety. But the zones don't hold. Gorillas dismantle electric fences with eerie precision. Dolphins disable fishing boats by ramming propellers in coordinated strikes. Even pigeons learn to avoid drones. Humanity is forced to do something it has never done before: negotiate. The first summit takes place in Geneva. Delegates from 60 nations sit in stunned silence as the screens flicker to life, not with human faces, but with the live feed of a gorilla named Amara, the first recognized ambassador of the animal world. Her voice, synthesized from sign language, fills the hall. You called us beasts. You called yourselves kind. We have been both. No one claps, no one breathes. The air itself feels heavier. From that moment, the rebalance begins. The United Nations becomes the Interbeing Council, a fragile alliance between humans and representatives of major species. Whales speak through translators. Elephants communicate via vibration maps. Ravens serve as messengers between continents. Humanity, for the first time, shares the table of creation, and the conversation is difficult. Animals don't want cities, borders, or technology. They want balance. Humans want survival. The first global agreement, the Pact of Earth, declares that no species may enslave another for labor, food, or entertainment. Slaughterhouses shut down overnight. Circuses are dismantled. Zoos transform into sanctuaries run by the creatures themselves. In the years that follow, society reshapes around coexistence. Forests become shared zones, where humans live in modular ecostructures beside tribes of wolves, boars, and primates. Oceans are declared autonomous, governed by whale pods that now dictate fishing rights. Even skies are regulated. Certain migratory paths protected by law where planes may no longer fly. The economy collapses and rebuilds itself around ethics. Meat becomes illegal, replaced by lab-grown protein. Agriculture adapts: less domination, more cooperation. Humans learn from ants how to build efficient colonies, from bees how to sustain ecosystems, from elephants how to mourn and remember. For the first time, humanity's arrogance begins to soften. Children grow up learning not just languages but cross-species communication. Schools teach empathy as a survival skill. AI translators allow conversations with dogs, cats, and birds, halting, clumsy, but astonishing. Families no longer have pets, they have companions. And yet, under the calm surface, tension stirs, because not all humans accept the new balance. Black markets emerge, trading meat, fur, forbidden pets. Secret groups whisper about reclaiming dominance, calling themselves the True Order. Meanwhile, certain animals, wolves, great apes, and octopuses begin to form councils of their own, questioning whether humans can truly change. The world stands between peace and fracture. Still, there are moments of grace. In the ruins of old industrial zones, humans and elephants work together to reforest deserts. In the Arctic, polar bears lead scientists to melting zones, guiding them as partners rather than prey. In flooded cities, dolphins rescue children from rooftops. Something extraordinary is happening. Earth is beginning to heal. But healing always reveals deeper wounds, and soon, a darker current begins to rise. Whispers of plans, of territory, of an emerging species alliance that doesn't want equality, it wants a sense. Because intelligence, once shared, always hungers for power. And in the quiet of the forests and the depths of the oceans, something ancient is watching humanity's fragile peace, and wondering if balance is just another word for waiting. For a while it feels as if the world might hold. Humans and animals share the planet in a delicate equilibrium, an unspoken rhythm of coexistence. Forests grow thicker, seas swell with life, and cities shrink into greener, quieter forms. But balance is a fragile thing. It doesn't break all at once. It cracks. And those cracks begin with silence. A logging crew in South America vanishes overnight. All they find the next morning are their trucks, engines still warm, covered in claw marks that form a single word: stop. In Siberia, drone footage captures a pack of wolves moving in formation, military precision, circling a human outpost. They don't attack. They just wait, watching, measuring. Then, in the Indian Ocean, a fleet of ships disappears. A transmission lasts just 5 seconds. Garbled sonar clicks, followed by a voice no one can explain. The sea is not yours. The Interbeing Council convenes in panic. For the first time, the animal representatives refuse to attend. Whales stop responding. Elephant drumming goes silent. Forests withdraw into secrecy. Humanity realizes what it has always feared. Unity was never peace, it was only a pause. You watch the world's feeds explode again, burning ships, abandoned cities reclaimed by packs. Skies dark with coordinated bird migrations that blot out the sun. The rebalance has turned into the reckoning. The animals are organizing not just by species, but across them. Wolves communicate with ravens. Dolphins share messages with apes via symbol codes. Octopuses spread patterns through coral reefs, signals of war or warning. No one can tell. And behind it all, one figure emerges, Amara, the gorilla who once spoke at Geneva, once a symbol of peace, now a shadow on every screen. Her message is brief, translated from sign language into a trembling voice. We listened, we learned, but you kept taking. In her eyes, there's no hatred, only clarity. Humans desperate, turn to old instincts. Defense, borders rise again. Satellites are repurposed for surveillance. Drones patrol the skies. Propaganda fills the networks, protect the species that built the world. But even as governance posture, the truth spreads. This isn't a rebellion. It's evolution pushing back. In Africa, herds move together with near-supernatural coordination, blocking roads and railways. In the Pacific, whales disable submarines by echoing their own sonar until circuits melt. In forests from Canada to China, primates begin dismantling power lines. The planet itself seems to withdraw from human reach, as if the Earth is reclaiming its body. And then comes the Black Summer. Wildfires ignite across continents, some natural, some not. Winds carry smoke across borders, blotting out the sun. Governments blame rogue animal factions. Animals, through their councils, blame human deforestation. Each side swears the other started it. No one knows who's right. Maybe no one is. In the chaos, something terrible happens. A secret lab in Nevada, run by a group calling themselves the True Order, begins experimenting on captured chimps, trying to reverse the awakening, to unlearn intelligence. When footage leaks showing terrified animals being broken back into silence, the world shatters again. That night, across every continent, coordinated attacks erupt. Laboratories burn. Research centers are flooded. The animals' retaliation is swift, devastating, and silent. By dawn, a third of the planet's power grid is gone. Humans call it terrorism, animals call it justice. And you watching the world fall apart can't tell which word fits anymore. By the end of that year, communication between species breaks down completely. The council dissolves. Oceans close their borders. Cities become fortresses. Humans huddle in walled zones of technology, surrounded by the vast, watching wilderness. But in the midst of ruin, a handful of voices, human and animal alike, begin whispering about something else. A third path. A place where the old and new worlds might meet again. A place not ruled by dominance but by understanding. Some call it a myth, others hope. Its name drifts through hushed camps and echoing forests. Eden Reborn. In the years after the breaking, the world falls into quiet. Not peace, quiet. The kind that follows exhaustion, when even anger runs out of breath. Cities, once engines of light, now flicker like dying stars. The wilderness has returned, swallowing highways and suburbs. Vines crawling over glass towers as though the planet is reclaiming her own reflection. Humanity has retreated into small enclaves, self-sufficient domes, metal hearts pulsing weakly in a green-breathing world. Outside those domes, another civilization is being born. You hear the stories first. carried in broken transmissions tales of a valley somewhere between what used to be Europe and Asia, a place untouched by smoke, where animals and humans live side by side. Again, they call it Eden Reborn. At first, you think it's a myth, but the world has always rebuilt itself through myths. And then the proof arrives, a video feed, faint and trembling. A young human woman, covered in dirt and sunburn, standing beside a massive elephant. Her voice quivers as she speaks into the camera. We stopped fighting, we started listening again. Behind her, the valley unfolds, wild grasslands dotted with shelters made from stone and bone. Windmills turning lazily beside herds of grazing animals that no longer flee. Ravens perch on rooftops. Dogs and deer walk together, and somewhere in the distance, children laugh. Their laughter joined by something else, the sound of wolves howling in harmony. Humanity watches, disbelieving. For the first time since the Awakening, there is hope. It begins with the Covenant of Eden, a fragile agreement between survivors of both sides. No hierarchy, no government, only mutual need. The animals provide balance, guiding, warning, keeping the land alive. The humans offer knowledge, tools, the gift of hands that can shape together. They begin to rebuild, not civilization as it was, but something gentler. Agriculture returns, but in a new form. Fields are shared with grazing herds that move by consent. Rivers are fished only when dolphins approve. Every act of consumption becomes a conversation. Humans learn to wait for permission, to take nothing in silence. Technology doesn't vanish, it transforms. Solar panels rise like metallic flowers, built in partnership with migrating birds who guide wind patterns. Drones patrol only to heal, spraying seeds across barren lands. Even AI, once humanity's rival creation, becomes a translator, bridging voices between species that still cannot share words. The new children, the first generation born after the conflict, grow up bilingual. They speak human languages and the symphonic clicks, growls, hums of the animal world. To them, difference isn't a barrier, it's music. And slowly, something miraculous begins to happen. Forests return faster than any scientist thought possible. Rivers run clear. The ozone mends itself. Extinct species begin reappearing, some reintroduced by humans, others finding their way back as if drawn by the planet's healing breath. In this fragile paradise, a new philosophy takes hold. The humans of Eden call it the circle. It says, no mind stands above another. Every thought belongs to the same song. Under this creed, there are no kings, no masters, no prey, only the shared rhythm of existence. But even here, whispers of the old world remain. Some humans still remember power, the taste of dominion. Some animals remember chains, and deep in the forests, old rivalries stir. Not everyone wants harmony, because peace demands humility, and humility has always been humanity's hardest lesson. Still, for now, Eden holds on warm evenings, under skies that no longer burn with smoke. Humans and animals gather in circles. Elephants drum, whales sing through distant speakers linked to the sea. Wolves harmonize with human voices, creating songs that sound like the planet remembering itself. And as you listen, you realize this isn't just survival, it's resurrection. The world didn't end, it simply woke up. Centuries pass. The scars of the old world fade beneath forests and oceans. Steel has turned to moss. Glass has returned to sand. And the name human no longer means what it once did. The people of this new age, the Circle-born, are descendants of both survivors and visionaries. They live in harmony with the wild. Their cities grown instead of built, carved from living trees and coral towers. Homes breathe with the seasons. Roads shift as roots grow. You wake beneath a canopy of light, filtered through leaves engineered to glow in the dark. Above you, shapes move, not drones, but herons, carrying messages between settlements. The air hums with the quiet pulse of the earth herself. Everywhere you look, life is woven together. Humans no longer rule, they belong. The Council of Voices now governs the world, a living parliament of species. Whales represent the oceans. Elephants speak for the land. Ravens carry messages across continents. And humans, no longer dominant, serve as interpreters between minds. Every generation adds something new to the great record, a vast living library stored in the roots of a genetically engineered tree known as the memory wood. It stores sound, vibration, color, scent, the languages of all who live under the sun. When you walk through it, you can hear the voices of time, the groaning of ancient whales, the laughter of early children of Eden, the final speeches of those who dreamed of unity. And somewhere in its depths, preserved in light and sound, echoes the voice of Amara, the gorilla who first spoke in Geneva. You called us beasts, you called yourselves kind. We have been both. Her words have become scripture. Life in this era isn't perfect, it's balanced. Predators still hunt, death still comes, but every life taken is honored, every cycle acknowledged. The world breathes in harmony, and yet, even peace has its mysteries. Because now, strange questions rise among the young. They wonder what it means to be awake. If all creatures are intelligent, then what of the planet itself? What of the trees that communicate underground, the mycelium that connects forests, the coral reefs that pulse with electric memory? Did Earth awaken, too? Some say yes, that the awakening was never about animals or humans, but the planet remembering its own mind. That consciousness was never the gift of one species, but the whisper of the world wanting to know itself. Others disagree. They believe intelligence was a mistake, that awareness only brings longing, that perhaps the animals were happier before words. Philosophers, human and otherwise, gather under moonlit groves, debating for years in slow, patient circles. There are no wars now, only questions. One night you stand at the edge of the sea. The horizon glows faintly with bioluminescent waves, each crest pulsing with light as dolphins swim through the surf. A voice soft and ancient reaches you through the translator band on your wrist. It's an orca, speaking across the waves. Do you remember when the world was loud? You smile. You've seen the recordings, the endless noise, the burning cities, the blinding lights. You nod. We remember. You answer. The orca's hum deepens, resonant, almost like laughter. Then remember this too, it says. You were never alone. You only forgot how to listen. The waves roll in, washing over your feet, cool and alive. For a moment, you feel it, the pulse beneath everything. The rhythm of soil, sky, and sea. The heartbeat of a planet that has finally remembered all its children. And as dawn breaks, a new sound rises, the collective song of a world awake. Not human, not animal, simply alive. The story that began with a single parrot asking, "Who am I?" ends here in a world where no one has to ask anymore.